Babish, and this is the Week 2 overview for Marketing 200 International Marketing. This video will help you with upcoming assignments, including discussion prompt number 2, quiz number 3. It will also address the very important integrated marketing plan template tool and how it can help you with the analysis for your group projects, and it will also introduce you to concepts that will help improve your analysis for your individual work as well. Before we begin, I'd like to note that our course text International Marketing Environment Variables. From this point forward, each chapter addresses one of the 7 marketing environment variables. The thing to note about all of these variables is none of them are within your control, and all international marketing campaigns or integrated marketing plan efforts must be aware of these variables. And the point of the plan is to strategically address them by analyzing their impact on the marketing mix, which is the 4 Ps. So these variables will all definitely have some sort of impact on your marketing mix: product, price, place, and promotion. And it is your job to address them strategically so that you can convince whoever it is that hired you to do the plan that you've addressed them in such a way that your stated marketing objectives will still be able to be accomplished. So you need to address any threats and or capitalize on any opportunity spaces. You do this through the SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses is the W, O is the opportunities, T is the threats. So it's not as though you would have to write everything there is to know about all of these variables within a plan, but you need to be particularly aware of those places that are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats. Chapter 2 addresses the physical variable and how the physical elements impact the marketing environment. The chapter begins with a very simple introduction to the concept of trade. Wherever there is an exchange of goods, ideas, services, a market is created. In early human society, trade occurred mostly within the cultural group. As humans begin to explore and realize there are ways to connect more easily with other human groups or culture groups, they begin to trade goods and services through bartering and eventually develop currency. In all cases, a market is formed. Geography has many implications on the ability for markets to even emerge or to continue. The study of geography helps us understand a little bit better 2 key considerations: the physical and political landscape. Each bring forth considerations for how easily goods and services can be transported and move in between 2 different cultural groups. And the political considerations have to do with more about what are the customs and laws and regulations that exist between the 2 groups that may either limit or even encourage the development of markets. You'll see on the slide that the term international is in quotes because in early human society, when markets were initially forming, the idea of a nation or country was not in existence yet. So the idea of international trade is a more modern concept, but it really does date back more than 20,000 years when you look at international or intercultural exchange. The Silk Road probably being the world's most famous example of how establishing a trade route between and through several cultures has a lot of impact, not only on trade, but on the people that are engaging in the trade, that has political considerations, and then also the physical environment. What physical barriers are in the way of transporting certain types of products and goods? Other considerations when we're looking at physical barriers go beyond just the logistical transportation issues that might emerge. We also need to consider the resources and the human culture groups that might live within these areas, which tend to be relatively isolated. This could be mountain ranges, it could be desert communities or desert tribes, and it could also include groups of people who live inside of jungles, such as in the Amazon. There are several human groups who have almost no to zero contact with outside human groups. If we are proposing to expand a market that would require the deforestation or further deforestation of the Amazon jungle, what impact might that have on consumers? There are consumers outside of Brazil or surrounding nations of the Amazon jungle that would really have a vested interest in ensuring that this resource is protected. So even people in Europe would refuse to buy a product that came from the Amazon because of their concerns about the deforestation. Amazon is the most biodiverse area of the world, and the concern there is if we further deforest it to create new markets for agricultural products for countries other than the people who are living in the area, then what impact will that have on the resources that might help save or cure illnesses? Certain plants and animal species are becoming extinct, and there are other animal and plant species we haven't even discovered yet in there, but deforestation puts all of those things at risk. And the cultures that are inside of them are homogenized. They don't have exposure to other cultures. So when we introduce difference into their culture, different ways of doing things, we threaten the very existence of their culture. And finally, ecological considerations that I just mentioned have to always be taken into consideration with any integrated marketing plan. If people feel as though you are threatening a natural resource or threatening a species extinction, they may not be willing to buy your product, and it may also conjure up political responses to you, your company, and it may also be invited by a very real regulatory or legal imposition on your product or company to not do business in that area if you're not showing due consideration for protecting the ecology of the area. Sustainability is the consideration for how can you engage in production and or trade in an area that will preserve their environment, their ecology, and it be sustainable so that it does not have a negative impact on the surrounding people or resources. Lastly, the chapter discusses seasonality considerations. A tool that is recent to all of humanity is meteorology, and as we know just from watching the weather forecast, it's not always 100% accurate, but we do have the ability to study trends that may occur within our climate and climatic shifts. So this is information that is very useful, especially for certain types of companies with products that are heavily impacted by weather changes. So having access to meteorological forecasts, knowing that in certain regions of the world they're expected to have more than average rainfall, for instance, may impact whatever product you are trying to position within that market. Getting that wrong could lead to not only a loss in profits, but also a loss in market share. So it is an important variable to consider whenever you are doing any integrated marketing plan. The first assignment that your group will have for your group project will be a research assignment called the situation analysis. So today I'll just share with you how you would use the lens of examining physical variables in doing your research. And keep in mind that you're always interested in who are your target consumers, who's your target market, and how does the marketing mix, the 4 Ps, help you reach that target market more effectively so that you can reach your goals and objectives. So 4 questions you might consider if you're looking at the physical environment variable are listed here. What pricing changes may be needed due to seasonal differences within your target market or your target consumers? Placement and distribution concerns that may impact your product placement and or ability to deliver through logistical channels due to physical barriers. Perhaps you could also put in here political barriers as well. Even within inside of the same consumer market, there might be variable laws and regulations and or government units that control the movement of goods and or how the product itself can come to market. Is the product available where you are targeting? think of fresh produce, or even if you're making something, if you're reliant on parts, is there an availability issue that is in any way tied to the physical environment and the place in which you are targeting, that would prevent the product from either functioning and or coming to market in the way you've designed it? And promotion considerations that may align with physical variables are ones we talked about in more detail in earlier slides, but are there any ecological or sustainability concerns that you should address through your marketing plan that will alleviate any concerns and or sustainability issues that could arise within your target market consumers and or the jurisdictions and political units, whether it be city, state, country, regional authorities, that could impact any sales you may have negatively if bad PR started to surround your product in such a way that you got a bad reputation for not caring for the ecological or sustainability concerns in that area. And on the flip side of that question, there may also be things you can do to create good publicity, to show that you are actually caring for the target market, the consumers, those people you want to develop relationships with so they buy into your product more, your service more. If you could create publicity that shows you are caring for or nurturing the ecology of the area in which they live, or addressing any sustainability concerns they may have, that could promote goodwill and be good publicity that helps you have a deeper relationship with your target consumers. The next few slides I will